Giving Zara a childhood and letting her be a kid was no different from my other 3 daughters. This meant joy and laughter and adventures. So when we would come to the hospital, the focus was fun. The clinical aspect of it became the least of Zara's concerns. She was excited to come, to go up the rocket ship elevator, to visit her blue piano, to visit her favorite spots of the hospital, whether it's getting a cake pop from Starbucks or visiting friends, familiar faces.
One of the things that was really important to us was making sure that Claire was involved in her care. From the beginning, obviously at the age of 2, it was very small things that we would do. So again, child life specialists would help us sit with her, help her understand the conversation. You know, as she got a little bit older, so 4 or 5, she was curious. People were talking about her, so she started asking questions. Sometimes a 4-year-old's questions can be really disruptive when you have a small window of time with your healthcare team. And so it was thinking about, okay, Claire, you're going to ask 2 really good questions today. Carving out that time was completely appreciated by her healthcare team. I remember one of her questions to the doctor was, what did you have for dinner last night? Totally unrelated to the conversation, but still the fact that she's starting to become comfortable with her healthcare provider was like a great step. We also started writing questions down in advance of appointments, which we found really helpful. And now that she's getting older, she's formed a really strong relationship with her NP. 2 of them are having a conversation. They're talking about what she's observing. Of course, I'm sort of, adding little bits and pieces in, but really having her sort of take control of the conversation. I think, we know that our time at SickKids is going to come to an end. She is going to transition to an adult program at 18 because she does have a congenital heart disease. And so being able to have those appointments independent of me entirely is the goal. And so I think the earlier you can start empowering your child to be able to be involved and to take control of their own care, the more effective they'll be able to be as an adult. And I think that's really important. Claire's in lots of situations, whether it's at school or swimming lessons, to be able to have to articulate what's wrong with her, what her needs are. And I think being able to do that in a safe environment at the hospital is a really good first step. And her healthcare team have really equipped her to be able to be very articulate and honest and open about sort of her health journey.
We don't hide the fact that he's going for a procedure. If we're going for an appointment, we're going for an appointment. We'll tell him which tests he's having at that appointment. If we're going for a cardiac catheterization, we call it a cardiac catheterization or a procedure. And we talk about what's going to happen and how long he's going to be at the hospital. The only thing we call an operation is surgery. We always make sure to ask him if he has any questions. And what that has done is he's very comfortable asking his questions. He's very comfortable telling people when he's in pain. So if I'm not there or his father's not there, he can still contact the nurses and ask for what he wants. I think by talking to him, frankly, in an age-appropriate way, we've helped him also learn how to advocate for himself. I think it's led to a greater degree of trust between Hudson and me and my husband, because he knows that we'll tell him the truth about why we're going to the hospital and what's happening there.
Children are very intelligent, and I learned through Child Life here one tip: ask them what they know and build upon that by offering knowledge in an age-appropriate way. So anytime Zara would ask me, Mama, what are we going to be doing today? I would ask her, what do you think we're going to be doing? Get a sense to see where she's at, and then fill in the gaps with information, short answers, and let her process that in her beautiful way. During clinic visits, if she had any questions, she would ask them. She was shy, so she would ask me, whispered in my ear, and she knew that that was allowed. And she was part of it. So either myself or the care team here would look at Zara and say, Zara, do you have any questions for today? Zara, do you know what we're doing? Can you tell me which arm you would like the blood pressure to be checked on today? So involving her at an early age so that she knows that she's important. This is about her and for her, and she does have a voice and she can have control. And giving her that control and choice in a situation where you don't often have choices was so important for her confidence and her self-development, and to reduce her fear and her anxiety.
So one thing that I did do while I was both inpatient and outpatient was essentially use whatever resources were available. who's on today for Child Life. Often we'll page them if he's, getting a really difficult poke in a merge, or if he's having a panic attack in a clinic. So really knowing who is an expert in whatever it is that we're struggling with and being prepared to ask. And over time, we actually developed a really clear one-pager about who Kieran is and what he needs. And that includes such strange, unique personal things like his version of the street light. That's one of his go-tos. So he'll say Button Road, and he wants a room that can see the traffic lights. So it's about knowing your own child, what makes your kids special, and to share that with the team, because most people who are here actually are working in this line of work because they care. So being able to focus on what makes our kids special, I think is kind of a way that we can all get on the same page.
I think my advice to parents would be to not forget about the mental health part of staying in a hospital or a long-term disease or even a short-term stay. When you come into the hospital, you're very focused on, the test results and how she's physically doing, but mental health is also a really important piece of it. Our healthcare team at SickKids has been very excellent to ask great questions, to be able to provide support. We do access support in the community, and this was a conversation that we had with the team at SickKids. Kids have questions, it's complicated, there's a lot of feelings involved, and accessing supports and resources around mental health was something that I think really, really helped us and is really, really important for parents to be thinking about, even when your kids are really young. What kind of support and what that interaction looks like will change over time, and we've seen that evolution, but just being open to having conversation and asking for help from someone who's a professional, we found to be a really invaluable resource.